مصاحبه سیمای آزادی با شرمن، عضو ارشد کمیتهۡ خارجی کنگره آمریکا از حزب دموکرات.
Congressman, in what ways should the U.S. adjust its stand toward Iran, given the new dynamic in Middle East following Assad's departure?
We have to work with the Iranian people. The people deserve real democracy, and America should do everything we can to support that effort. We saw how weak is the axis of evil. We saw Hezbollah pretty much destroyed to the point where they couldn't even help Assad. But I would say that the regime looks weak, the people look strong.
You also mentioned the massacre of 1988 of political prisoners. Recently, dozens of political prisoners, including supporters of the MEK, have been sentenced to death by the Iranian regime. What do you think the global community should do regarding these atrocities by the Iranian government?
There are terrible things happening in many places in the world that don't get any publicity at all. You turn to American television and you think there's nothing going on in the world except Gaza and Ukraine. The fact is that this is a regime that has killed hundreds of thousands of its citizens over the years. And people ask me, well, what are the groups in Iran, groups of Iranians that speak for the people? But I do know this. There's a saying in America that you judge a man by his enemies. And there's no entity that the mullahs hate more than the MEK. And it shows in everything they do in 1988, in Brussels, in other parts of Europe, and today.
What would be your message to the Iranian people inside Iran who would watch your interview on Sīmai Azadi, which is the Iranian TV?
We are with you. We are with the people. We are not with the regime. And the regime is looking very weak. Assad is living in a dacha outside of Moscow, and they're building a few more extra dachas for others who might be displaced.
مصاحبه سیمای آزادی با اریک کارتر، نماینده کنگره آمریکا از حزب دموکرات، فرزند نماینده فقید شیلا جکسون لی.
My first question is that Mrs. Maryam Rajavi presented today and discussed the path to change in Iran by the people of Iran. Can you give us your view on this?
I think it's so important that the United States support the people of Iran who've already expressed a commitment, passion to freedom and democracy, a non-nuclear Iran. This event brought together Republicans and Democrats who expressed the same support to uplift and strengthen the Iranian people that are in this fight for democracy and freedom.
Thank you. Congresswoman, your mom, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, was a great supporter of the Iranian aspiration for democracy, and she's certainly being missed among us. I wanted to ask you, as a member of a Congress, how do you collaborate with your colleagues across the aisle to address the Iran policy issues?
Yeah, I think that's why you saw such bipartisan support here and why my mother, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, fought so hard. She lived on the philosophy, we are not free till all around the world who seek and desire true freedom are free. And she felt deep compassion for those suffering under despotic regimes like the one in Iran currently. And so we reach across the aisle on that common belief and common effort to create opportunities for freedom for all, especially in Iran.
Thank you. My last question is, Iranian people, this program is being broadcast to Iranian people. What would be your message to Iranian people who are watching the program?
I think it stands true to never give up hope. You saw what happened in Syria seemingly overnight, although it was years of effort and work and commitment, and they never gave up, and you should not either. We have not forgotten. There are people out here everywhere that remember you and are with you. Never give up.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
مصاحبه سیمای آزادی با نانسی میس، عضو کمیته قوای مسلح از حزب جمهوری‌خواه، رئیس زیرکمیته امنیت سایبری.
My first question is, what are the immediate policy changes you foresee for U.S. foreign policy in response to the Iranian regime in 2025?
Well, we have to hold Iran accountable for what they're doing to their own people and also to U.S. assets and allies around the world.
My next question is, as a member of the Congress, how do you collaborate with your colleagues across the aisle to address the Iran policy issues?
To support the people of Iran, you've seen Republicans and Democrats alike come together in the U.S. Congress because we support freedom, liberty, and a free and democratic Iran, and that work will continue with the new administration and the President Donald Trump starting next year. Recently, we see the increase of the executions in Iran. One of the requests of the organization of the Iranian American community is to establish a special convoy on the human rights and reach out to the global community. What is your thought on that issue? I will absolutely support a special envoy to support the people of Iran, to expose the murders, the political prisoners, and the violence and oppression that's happening to good people for their own human rights, for their own peace, for their own safety. We have to expose what's really happening, as awful and as ugly and as disturbing as it is. The world needs to see it. They need to hear it. They need to understand what's truly happening with the Shah and with the oppressive regime in Iran.
This program is broadcasting to Iran. What is your message for the Iranian people?
My message tonight for the Iranian people is that America loves you. We support you in your fight for freedom, your fight for liberty, your fight for peace. We are with you.
مصاحبه سیمای آزادی با ریچ مک‌کورمیک، نماینده کنگره آمریکا از حزب جمهوری‌خواه، عضو کمیته‌های خارجی و قوای مسلح.
One of the questions that we have is that what are the immediate policy changes you foresee for U.S. foreign policy in response to the Iranian regime in 2025?
My hope is that President Trump takes a hard line against Iran and its policies. If you look in the past how he's handled foreign policy, it's always from a position of strength. Qasem Soleimani was an evil man who exported terrorism, and he ended that person. That person was in a combat zone. They're exporting terrorism all over the world. Weapons all over the world. You're subjugating people to death and destruction. You're limiting their ability to thrive. You're taking away their God-given rights. My hope is that President Trump comes from a position of strength, which I think he will, that we subjugate them with all kinds of any tool we have to take away their government's ability to thrive, to produce weapons of mass destruction. And quite frankly, if you export those weapons and they're used against us and our allies, we should take it out. We should never, ever pull punches. Because if you're using weapons against us, that's an act of war. That is an act of war. And really, we are at war with the regime in Tehran.
Thank you so much. My next question is that this will be broadcast to Iranian people. What would you message to the Iranian people inside Iran who would watch your interview with the Iranian TV?
Stand strong. I believe that people will be looking to ways to help you. I want you to have courage. That doesn't mean without sacrifice. Some people will give the ultimate sacrifice in this fight, understanding how evil and oppressive this regime is and what they want to do and when it comes to doing harm for you. My hope is that we as a country stand with you as a people that want to have a legitimate government, a legitimate representative government, that you will rise up against this regime. You'll look for every opportunity to overthrow an oppressive regime and free yourselves and your future generations from what is absolutely evil. And we are with you, and I hope we can do more.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.